Welcome back. You see, you returned empty-handed. A shame. Anyways, you have a visitor.
Yo.
Look who it is. Third Fleet tells me you went on an expedition to Coral Island searching for Zora Magdaros. Also tells me the Rotten Veil, way down beneath us. Properly access Veil will need to get down there. Pros resurrect this wrecked base, rigging around balloons to reconvert it into an airship. Oh yes. From the air, we'll be able to survey the Rotten Veil unimpeded. Air engineer, something, Palomalu hunt. Palamu hunt.
Want to get going?
Good luck. Here's a glider mantle, which will be very useful in the Coral Highlands. And a couple other places, but not right now. Or rather, they'll be situational.
Oi! What do you want?
Oh, you dumb fuck. Get out of here. You gathered up some money, I see. Or if you prefer, I could do the, because they kind of look like a Yoda. Many mines you have collected. Bones you must get. Bugs you will collect. Bring them to me, you must. Ooh, you need a Kizidaku hide, which means I gotta go kill another one of those fuckers.
What's up?
Stop! Or something. Yeah, you do kind of sound like the guy from the Resident Evil 4. A little bit in that laugh, anyways. Hello, stranger. You buying something? Or you trading? So I had some episodes that I had recorded but forgot to post, so I'm like 10 episodes behind on my recordings. So I'm gonna start double posting episodes here soon. Not right now, I gotta get ahead of schedule again, and I don't know if that's gonna be this week or not. This week. I put in quotation marks because by the time you hear this, it may be after the new year. But I'm going to attempt to get ahead of my recordings again by, say, like 10 or so days. And then I'll start double posting for about a week or two. Probably less than that. About 10 days, I think, is how far I fell behind. So I'll double post episodes for about 10 days. And then we'll be all caught back up to essentially roughly one episode per day. And then, yeah, I'll feel better about myself for missing 10 consecutive days.
That's awesome.
Of stuff because I was 1, busy with work, 2, busy with Christmas, 3, actually Christmasing with my family, which I will not complain about because I know that some of them listen, but I maybe it's because I'm getting older, maybe it's because I am older, and my siblings, I just really can't stand when we spend time together that half their attention has to be spent on their phones instead of, you know, enjoying each other's company, you know. But then again, I'm sure if they were sitting next to me or they were doing their own YouTube recording channel, whatever, they'd be like, Chris, he doesn't do anything, he just hides in his room all day. Which, not 100% off basis, but typically I only need to, like, I'm a little introverted, so even with my family, I do need to do a little bit of like, hey, I'm gonna like go sit down and like read a book or something for like 15 minutes to recharge my energy. But You know, if they want to play a game or they want to do something together or watch something together, I'm always like, I'll put it down. Whatever I'm doing, for the most part, I'm going to put down unless, I mean, I'm not going to work during a holiday, but short of it being something work related.
All right.
Managed to convert the research base into an airship. But you gotta get some Polomalus. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Polumalos. Basically, the way they float is they puff up their cheeks, and it gives them this like balloon-like thing. And that's what we're doing. We're gonna go hunt one of these things so we can basically turn its balloon sack neck into hot air balloons, or balloons you would use for a hot air balloon, and then that'll allow us to fly the airship. You might say, well, why didn't the Third Fleet do that beforehand? Well, the Third Fleet, according to what they just told us last episode, Third Fleet consisted of almost exclusively researchers. Whereas I believe probably the First Fleet was probably a more balanced fleet of hunters, researchers, and Second Fleet looked to be, from what I can tell, not 100% guaranteed, obviously, but from what I can tell, looks like they were more builders, to set up the town, basically build your big base into what it is. You probably brought majoritively builders, craftsmen on the Second Fleet, supply people. Third Fleet, like they said, was smaller and consisted of almost exclusively researchers. Fourth Fleet, I don't know. I have to imagine it's probably some combination, like the Fifth Fleet. But I believe the Fifth Fleet was a lot more heavily focused on bringing hunters over for the next Elder Crossing. Could be wrong, but it seemed like most of the people were either some variation of a hunter or a handler on our ship. So. Hello. Clink. Iron ore. Crystal. Coral crystal, not great. Iron ore is worse. I probably have like 100 pieces of iron ore at this point. I need something a little higher. Coral crystal's good. I imagine they're keeping me mainly bound to the iron ore for right now, at least until I get to high rank. But I will need higher level metals like... Trying to think of one. The coral stuff's good. There's boy, I don't know my ores, but essentially there are higher ores that you're going to need to craft not only like the metal armors, the higher level metal armors, but of course they call high metal armor. Coral bone, that's good. Sturdy bone, that's good. I'm going to need some monster bone pluses, though, as we continue. I don't know if those are going to be specifically drops or stuff that I can pull out of the earth. This is your monster introduction to this fat face piece of shit. He's so peaceful and relaxing, and then he opens up his mouth and gets angry. Shoots a big wind gust at me. Palaluma. There it is. Or Palamu. Lumu. Palalumu. Lumu. Not used to Lumu. Like a Lulu, but a Lumu. Don't say the U consonant followed by another similar U consonant. So while I was with my parents and siblings for Christmas. We did play a couple games. They were Jackbox games, which I'll speak of just briefly because Jackbox games are fun, but I sometimes feel like they're just a little too short for my taste. I guess in this day and age where people have very limited attention spans, you know, we can't have games last any longer than, say, a couple minutes. Like 10 minutes max. But one of the ones that I thought was interesting that I hadn't seen from the Jackbox creators yet. Now, mind you, I don't play a lot of Jackbox games. I played the ones that I played the one on the You Don't Know Jack that was on the 360, you know, umpty years ago, and now they have, you know, packs that you can buy off Steam and that. And one of them was it was a survey-based thing where, you know, they're constantly asking questions, surveying for new questions, etc. That you can add to the survey pool, but at least they got the sharpened. Hopefully I won't die though. Yeah, I'm gonna die. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I was gonna die there, because... Yeah, there we go. I didn't bother to eat. That's my mistake. Anywho. In the Jackbox game, they had a survey game where they have a topic and they ask you to pick the number, you know, one of the top answers, and then you do that for 2 rounds. So, let's say there's 300 answers on the board. Okay, they ask you to pick the top answer. Okay, now sometimes the top answer is a little easier than others. Like for instance, they asked like, what's the most common thing searched on the internet? And the answer that I got, my sibling, like sister got, and I think my brother-in-law all got was porn. The answer is porn. Number 1 answer, easy. Now the problem is if me and my sibling and my brother-in-law all answer the same question, we get the points for the number 1 answer, however many points that is, and then we split the points between the 3 of us. So not only do you want to get a number 1 answer, or as high as you can get, but you also want to make sure that the answer is, say, a number 1, 2, 3 answer, but also that no one else aside from you guesses that, otherwise you get partial points, okay? So like I said, you do that for 2 rounds. Everybody guesses at the same time because you're typing in the answers on your cell phone. And then after 2 rounds of that, they ask you to do the least popular answer. Boy, that's way harder than the most popular answer, because the most popular answer is like for instance, they'll give you I'm just making a subject up. Food or stuff you find in a bar, and like you could easily go beer, you could easily go whiskey or rum, or you know, any one of those things would probably be very popular. Okay, wings, nachos, perhaps. But then they'll ask you, you know, try to get the lowest answer, which is like really difficult, because like you'll think up an idea like, oh, I know, what do you find at what would you find at a bar that would be sort of unusual? And you might put like I guess pool table, dartboard would be a little too obvious, but like say like I don't know. I'm trying to think of this is why it's so hard for me, is because I can think of a good answer that I think should be somewhere in the top 10 or top 20 or whatever. But when it comes to a bottom answer, it's like, what do people think would be a bottom answer? And unfortunately, the Jackbox games do not give you the answer to what the bottom answers are. They'll show you what the top 10 are at the end of the round, They will not show you what the bottom are. So you're sort of like guessing at it. Like, I guess like here's an here, I guess I'll throw one out there, just an example. This probably would not be anywhere near the bottom, but like say like a deer head. You know, you might find, particularly if you go to a sports bar, you might find like memorabilia, bucks that have been taken with, lots of horns, that sort of trophy. Fish, if you go to a bar that says maybe closer to a lake or the ocean, you definitely see that kind of stuff. So that might be unusual stuff in terms of what Jackbox may say is an unusual thing. The problem is a lot of times when you pick one of those answers, the Jackbox game will be like, well, that would make sense. It'd be a very, this would be something you'd find in a bar, but no. If nobody puts it down or not enough people put it down, it doesn't even end up on the list. So you might put down like marlin. Type in marlin. It's like marlin did not appear on the list. So then you're like scrambling for a different answer because it took you a little while to type in marlin or something else like that. And the other thing that I didn't really get about the Jackbox game was it seemed to be based on what people typed in, obviously. So we did one that was like toys. So you could type in like doll, D-O-L-L, and you would get points for doll. But you could also get points for the specific name, like a Barbie or like a Bratz, So you want to not only put the generic name in, but you also want to go with something more specific, like, like for instance, board game would probably be on the list, but you probably also want to put in like Risk, Sorry, Trouble, things that commonly known board games, but again are not being covered under board games general. And then of course you're, in some cases, all cases I guess, you're under a time limit to type in, your answer. I don't know, it was fun, but some of the other games I'm not very good at. Some of the games are designed for you to deceive your fellow players. I'm not very good at those. They'll ask you like, one of the people in the room is the what's the word? It's the con man. You have to figure out which one of the 3, 5, 6, I think it's up to 6 people, is the con man. And if you can't, and you have to have a consensus too, otherwise it doesn't count. But if you look across the table and you see your brother or your sister or his girlfriend or boyfriend or brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and they're not very good liars, you might say, I think it's you. And you don't get a consensus on the first time. You say, I think it's you still. You don't get a consensus on the second time. You'll still get points because you picked out the con man, the con woman correctly. So because of that, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt and get points, even though you ultimately as a group did not find the culprit on the first or second go around. But I'm not very good at those because typically they'd be reading a question like, how many dating apps do you have? And now my brother and sister are both in committed relationships, so they have 0. So when I put up, I have to randomly guess between 1 and 10 a number. I put up 4. There's no way you have 4 dating websites. And I'm like, how do you know? It's like, because we all put down 0. And there's no way that any of us could be lying about this. I said, well, you could be lying if it was, say, one of the 4 of you that are in committed relationships. You could legitimately put up 0. I fainted. Great. You don't want to faint like right at the tail end when the monster's asleep and you have the option to capture it or blow it up with a giant fucking barrel bomb. You just don't do that because you're a turd. Anywho. We're gonna make our way back to the monster. We're gonna finish it off. And then probably call it an episode from there. I need to go hunt me some flash monster so that I can get the other base up and running. And etc. You gave me 3 monster bone S's on that. That kind of stinks. I want kind of the upgraded monster bone version so I can keep upgrading my armor and weapons. But if you're holding me back from doing that, I'm not gonna be able to do any of that. Not gonna be able to upgrade my armor or my... Bye! Bye! Anyways. Sounds like fun, right? Fortunately, I have to go all the way across the map because I don't have the other campsite unlocked yet. And Blue Moo is sleeping in its den, which happens to, like I said, be completely across the map from me. Maxed honey. Hi, friend. Prepare to get hit in the head. Dead. I didn't even have to finish him off with my
Nice work,
elemental
partner.
boss.
Let's hurry back to the research base. I'm starving.
Why are you hungry? We just, the end of the last episode, she was talking about being hungry, and she's hungry again. What the hell, man? This is all supposed to take part in like a course of an afternoon or something. I guess I could understand. Or maybe this Pulumu was giving her the rumblies that only Pulumulus can solve.